Hello and welcome to another HorrorBuzz Live. I apologize, we were just a few minutes late due to technical difficulties. My router, and are they still called routers? I don't know. Jesus, I should just call it the Twitter. Lindsay, don't get at me. Okay, so here we are, and we are ready to go with another wave of horror news and information. This week is very interesting because we are going to be talking about obviously events and news, horror events and news, and things are opening up. And Eric and Amantha are here, and we're going to be talking about some of the new films that have come out recently and that are about to come out that you might need to be seeing. Finally, we will be talking about David Lynch. So if you are a David Lynch fan, we are going to be talking about our 3 favorite David Lynch films. Feel free to chime in on the chat. Chime in on the chat over there. And without further ado, oh yes, please like and subscribe if you like the show. Please like and subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and give us a little bit of change on Patreon if you like what we're doing here. At any rate, here's Lindsay.
Hey guys.
Yay. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on with my tech difficulties, but you go ahead and give us the information we need to know about horror news and information and entertainment and events.
Okay, well let's just jump right into it. We won't fuss around. We'll just go right for it. We'll go start off with our movies. The movie has already come out, but I do want to say that I got to see A Quiet Place last weekend, and it's quite good. If you're a fan of the original, you will like it a lot. There are some differences, but it's still really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I littered the floor with hot tamales because I got scared a few times. So I definitely recommend it. Check it out. But for movies coming up this week, on Thursday, June 3rd, we have a film called Caveat, and that's coming to Shudder. And it's about a guy named Isaac, and he is kind of just in the middle, right? He's like kind of just stuck in between jobs, and he's kind of drifting around, and he takes a job working for his landlord's niece, and he has to look out for her, but there's a caveat. He has to be chained to a leather harness that restricts his movements to only certain rooms of the home. So he takes the job anyway, and goes very wrong in there, as you can imagine. That comes out Thursday on Shudder. On Friday, we have The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. And I know this has been highly anticipated for a lot of people that are fans of the Conjuring universe. And the saga continues. And for those who are not familiar, it follows the paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. And it starts with a young boy and battling for his soul. And then it takes them much farther and deeper into that universe than they ever imagined. It goes just far beyond one case isolated with one child. And that comes out in theaters this Friday. And with our events, we've, of course, as we announced and talked about last week, we have tickets available for our 2021 Screaming Room Film Festival. We've paired up with Midsummer to keep the wonderful horror cinema scene alive, and we are going to be having our film festival July 10th and 11th. It's $40 for weekend, and tickets are available, so make sure you grab them. And I don't know if we're going to be discussing any more of that later today. We might be, but it is going to be an event not to be missed, and I guarantee you it is going to sell out. So make sure you get tickets. Speaking of events that will probably sell out, we also have Zombie Joe's Underground Trail of Torment. That is quite the tongue twister. It is a contactless walkthrough theater experience, and it takes you on a journey into darkness and face head on all kinds of nightmares and terrors beyond your wildest imagination. And opening night has already happened, and it runs through June 12th. So it's only for a couple of weeks. It will be running Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays starting at 7:20 p.m. and running until 11 p.m. in 20-minute increments. So they are timed experiences. It's $35, but that $35 gets you up to 2 people in. So if you want to bring a friend, it's only $35. If you want to bring 3 people, it's 2 tickets. 4 people, it's still 2 tickets, so on and so forth. You can get your tickets at Zombie Joe's Underground website. And like I said, tickets are going to be definitely filling up, so make sure you grab those. Also coming very quickly here on June 12th and 13th, we have Halloween Depot's Horrorville pop-up shop. So as I said, that is Saturday, June 12th and 13th from 12 to 5 p.m. There will be cosplayers, sliders, and a special guest appearance. And there's links on Halloween Depot's Instagram. It's just at Halloween Depot to RSVP. And make sure you go and do that. That's sure to be a weekend of fun. Now, this doesn't happen until July and August, but I want to put this on your radar now because I'm sure this will fill up. All these little pop-up experiences have gotten so popular. I mean, for example, for anybody local to the SoCal area, the Stranger Things drive-into experience in LA has garnered incredible popularity. And prior to that, the Pennywise experience that was also in LA, very, very popular. We have a new one coming July and August. It's the Viva La Vengeance, based on Zack Snyder's Netflix original Army of the Dead. So in the game, you are a mercenary, and it's a altered VR experience. So what that means, it's mixed reality. You do have VR glasses on, but there are real life elements happening around you as well. And you are a mercenary fighting your way through hordes of zombies in a 30-minute mixed reality experience. It's going to be touring all over the US, but it will be in LA for a few weeks in July and August. Now, I'm telling you about this now because tickets are going to be released this Thursday, June 3rd at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So these tickets, I guarantee you, are going to fill up much like the Stranger Things tickets did. The location is secret, but it is in LA, so it will be provided to you once you get your tickets. Dressing the part's not mandatory, but definitely encouraged. The tickets are timed and date specific, and they start at $24 a person, so make sure you kind of decide maybe what date would be interesting to you, weekend, weekday. They haven't released the specific dates. They're being very mysterious, but I just know that it's in July and August. So you can go to the Up app or go to feverup.com and you can get yourself on the ticket wait list to find out exactly when that pre-sale hits, because sometimes it says 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, but they may release it a little earlier for the people that are on the wait list. So if this interests you, make sure you go to that website and get yourself on the wait list. So that's what we've got for our events and films this week.
Anna, that's like amazing. Thank you so much. And honestly, I would love to go do the augmented VR thing, or and shoot up some zombies. And can you gamble though? That's my question.
I think you can gamble anywhere. You just have to find somebody, maybe show them some dice, and just kind of say, "Hey, so
hey, show me your dice." Okay.
Yeah.
Poor Dragoa. We did not mean to scare you. He actually had this ready and loaded in the background, and it scared him when we came on. So sorry, but that's kind of our job. And also, if you want to join the HorrorBuzz team right now, we are looking for people to join our video game and books and news teams. We need a lot of help here. And if you love horror and you love writing and love telling people about it, then join us. And there's your link right there in the chat. Yeah, we're always looking for people to join our team and just get into the fun of horror. All right. So, Lindsey, I'm going to have you back shortly because I didn't know that you saw A Quiet Place 2, but you did. And we're going to be talking about that shortly. In fact, you know what? Forget about shortly. We're going to bring on Eric and Amantha right now. Hey, Eric. Hey, Amantha. So I thought that this week we would talk about some of the movies that have come out that we've seen. And also one that's coming out this Friday. We've all seen A Quiet Place 2. You guys have seen the film New Order. I have seen The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So let's go ahead and talk about these things. I guess, Eric and Amantha, why don't you go first and tell us what New Order is? And then between the two of you, tell me whether or not you liked it.
All right. You want to start?
Yeah. Well, New Order is it's a Mexican movie.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's about an uprising that's occurred where the working class rises up and attacks the upper class. And while this is going on and starting to become a bigger riot, a wedding has taken place, and at the wedding, a former employee comes looking for some money to help his wife, who needs an emergency operation during all this. The daughter of the family, who's also the bride, wants to help him. She leaves with an employee of theirs to go to their house to go and take her to the hospital and to pay for the treatment, and it gets kind of caught up in this and kidnapped by some members of the military. And so it's an extremely
brutal. It's an extremely brutal film that left us with our jaw dropped a lot of the time. Like, Eric and I are pretty good in watching things, no matter what it might be. But we looked at each other at one point during this film, and we each had the same expression of our jaw just dropped, because we were in disbelief of what had just occurred within the storyline of this film. Because it's not anything. It's a film you have to see. We've described it as much as we can. So it's one you have to go and see, as long as you're going to be okay with gore and brutality, essentially. It's also a film that was well made from a standpoint of art direction, acting, the storyline itself, because if you see the previews, I thought it was going to be a bit different than how it was presented. Pretty much the whole time you're watching it, you are just thinking about possible, what if situations, what if something like this could happen, At least I was thinking, what would I do? How would I go about surviving? Where would I fall within this whole structure of essentially class?
Yeah, there's an intense realism to the movie, which probably makes it a bit more unnerving than anything else. We saw this and A Quiet Place on the same day, and we were not prepared for how much this one was going to shake us up.
It did very much so, to a point where I had nightmares that night after seeing it. And I highly recommend it. I mean, I'm always looking for things that are dark, and I don't feel a lot of stuff is dark enough, but I feel like this is dark enough. So, yeah.
Wait a minute. You had nightmares?
I had a nightmare having seen, I think it may have been a combination between having seen New Order and A Quiet Place Part 2 pretty much back to back in one day.
Okay.
So it just was messing with my psyche a bit. So,
Am I frozen? I'm frozen, aren't I? Frozen in abject.
Just like Eric's did when I looked at him.
Yeah.
Eric never has a drop jaw, like ever when we're watching anything. I'm a lot more excitable when it comes to film, so Eric's pretty subdued when we're watching stuff. But
Is this crazier than Violation? Remember when I...
Oh my Lord.
Is this crazier than Violation?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We didn't...
Yeah, we did watch
Violation. I forgot.
I will say
I'm sorry, I forgot which movie.
I will say yes.
So you remembered it. It was good, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. It's a really good film, and I highly recommend watching it just from the standpoint of, like Eric said, this realism to it that is unnerving for sure.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So next up, I am going to talk to you guys about The Conjuring Part 3, or The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This comes out June 4th, this Friday, and I actually published my review today. I gave it a 7 out of 10, but that came with a caveat, to call back another title. It is the third chapter, obviously, in the saga of the Warrens fighting demons and the paranormal, but it takes a different bent to it. Just listen to the audio, wait for me to catch up. And so the situation is that this is based on an actual case from Ed and Lorraine Warren, where somebody claimed possession as a defense for committing a murder. Well, then the Warrens are called in to, try to prove that this was actually the case. And of course, they uncover so much more, and so many more bits of mysteries and things like that. And while I enjoyed it, what I can say is that I was rarely scared. In fact, I wasn't scared at all. It plays more like a mystery than it does a horror film. And my friend, who is not a fan of the Conjuring films, Joseph, he went with me, and he said that there was a jump scare every 4 minutes. He said, so, that's kind of how those things roll. The Conjuring films have to have a jump scare. And so it's like, all right, but it was fine. I enjoyed it. It got a little schmaltzy at the end, because Ed and Lorraine are just so in love and hate ghosts so bad. But, if you were a fan of the first one and you did not like the second one, and you were kind of like, well, this one kind of falls in the middle. It's not even remotely as scary as the first one, not as inventive, but it's definitely entertaining. So that is my take on The Conjuring. Now, let's see here. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Now, let's bring everybody in and really test my bandwidth. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I removed everybody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Let's bring everybody in and talk about A Quiet Place 2.
Okay.
So, hot takes real quick. Eric and Amantha, did you like it?
Yes.
Lindsey, did you like it?
Definitely.
Okay. I also liked it, but I had the same problems that I did with this one as I did with the first one. So, Eric, Amantha, let's talk about this and tell me what you thought about the film.
Okay, I'll go first on this one.
I didn't know what you were looking at.
No, I was just looking around. I enjoyed this film. I like the fact that it essentially picks up from where the other one ended. And I liked a lot of the aspect, because the film is about having to be quiet. I'm always paying attention to films like that when it comes to a sound mix, right? Or how sound is. And I was watching this one very specifically because there's not a lot of dialogue, but the sound elements of it I thought were great. In addition to just what is the best way to describe it? I don't want to say acting, but it's just watching the actors portraying these characters trying to survive.
Particularly the kids.
Specifically the kids, right. With the fact that again, don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, let's be very careful about spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it's just it was I feel the story was fine. I really again I like art direction and I love editing. So I liked this film from that standpoint. And then like what you said, just watching.
And I do think the kids were really good. I think
sure.
the boy in particular.
Yes.
Again, not to say too much, but there's a lot that he goes through, and it's a pretty kind of intense thing to have to portray, and I thought it came off very realistic from him, the feelings that would go along with this. I don't think this one had quite the same feeling when we were watching it, because when we were at the theater watching it, and I remember when the first one came out, there was a tension all throughout the audience, and especially because of the quiet, and how it was that people seemed afraid to even eat their food for fear of making any kind of noise in the theater, that the silence was deafening, as some people would describe. And it wasn't quite the same with this. I mean, there was some of that still, but it was not at the same level as it was before. I liked the movie, not as much as I liked the first one.
I would say I like them both the same, and I like them as companion pieces to this story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Lindsey, what were your thoughts?
I think Eric and Amantha hit it pretty much spot on. I agree with everything that they said. I will say that in terms of story, I loved it. And like Amantha said, I do love that it picks up where the first one leaves off, and you get to kind of dive into the before a little bit, and then you get to see much after, and you realize, as we do with a lot of apocalyptic films, that the monsters are not the only monsters out there, and that's always really fun to explore. My biggest thing with this is just the way the film ends. I'm not gonna ruin anything. I just would have loved to see 15 more minutes of movie. I was completely, when the credits started, I was very surprised where it ended. So I personally would have loved just a smidge more. And I hope, as much as I love these films, I hope this doesn't mean that they're going to do another one based on how it ended. I won't say any more.
Okay, well, okay, so here's my take. Kind of dovetailing from what you said, Lindsey. And also I'm running too. If you can see me, I'm running with them right now. Yeah, my two biggest qualms with this film were the same ones I had with the first film, which was that it ends way too abruptly. Like, something happens and then boom, cut to black, and you're like, what? Secondly, now I'm not okay with all of the brilliant minds in the world, and with all of the technology, and with all of the military, and with many people that could have been in bunkers, even though everything was sudden. How is it that a young girl with a hearing aid was the one with the solution? So that while it's a great message, it's a spectacular message, but it's like, how come the military didn't think of this too? So that was my issue. So really that's it. But everything else, as you had said before, Eric and Amantha, while it was fun, the tension did not rise to the level of, say, having a baby in a bathtub and trying to be absolutely perfectly quiet.
Right.
It just didn't. But it was still, with all of that being said, it was still one hell of an entertaining movie. And a lot of fun. I definitely caught myself holding my breath, as I am now. Yeah, that's it. That's kind of my thoughts on it. But do you think that, Lindsey, what did you expect? What did you want to see after the credits started rolling?
I would like to see something a little more along the lines of like I hate to say a neat and tidy wrap up, or like a greater implication of hope. I really don't want to give anything away, but I just would have loved to see the message or the solution become more available, or like a plan for the world going back to normal. Something that says, like, we're doing what we're doing, and here's what's next. And then like rather than doing a third movie, in your head you're like, oh, they do X, Y, and Z, and then they defeat the monsters or they don't. You know, and I just would have liked to see something that just allows you to kind of imagine a resolution. Because I don't want them to film a resolution. I just don't think it'll have it. These two movies are so good on their own. I don't want them to keep making movies and have the quality to go down and just kind of taint the series. You know what I mean? I really don't want to give too much away. I want to say specifically what it is. So if anybody's really curious, you can ask in like 2 weeks when you've had plenty of time to see the movie. But that's like the most vague way I can put it without inserting a spoiler.
Eric and Amantha, what would you say to that?
Do you have anything to?
You can disagree, by the way. I won't care.
And I will, because no, I'm good with ambiguous endings. I'm fine with it. I've seen plenty of movies that have ended in just an abrupt manner, and I'm perfectly okay with it. It's very rare that I feel like I need to see a resolution or a wrap up or like an epilogue of what's happened since the last scene we just saw, right? So I was fine with the ending. I would be fine with a third film as well if that was a choice, just to see a continuation of the story. But for me, the way it ended, I was good with.
I think it would depend on what that story was.
No, true. True, but I mean, like,
but the upside, the upside of the abrupt ending is there was no period of time for everybody to start gathering their stuff up and getting up early. Because sometimes you'll be in a movie and it's clearly heading towards the end. The story has ended. The epilogue is going on. Everybody's starting to gather their stuff.
You hear the popcorn. Yeah.
Okay. Well. I don't know. Okay, so here's my take. I land somewhere in the middle of the two of you because while I really appreciate how focused and narrow the narrative is as far as telling the story of survival of these people during a very unexpected, very, well, literally otherworldly attack, I wanted to see, after things ended, I wanted to see just a little bit more. Just a little. I didn't want it to go, global scale here, but I wanted to see, at least a resolution or an outcome, rather, for the characters that I watched go through this up to that point. So, and God, we are dancing around trying not to, give away the ending here. But, I can guarantee you, Lindsey, and I'm sorry to tell you, but the movie made like $50 million this past weekend. You're going to get a part 3. So,
and I'll watch it. I'll be there. I'm just saying, I don't want them to ruin it.
Well, they honestly didn't even think that they were going to do a second one. I mean, this was kind of like a one-off, and then it was like, what? And at first, Krasinski wasn't even going to do it. So it was like, So, so that's what you've got to see. You can see where can you see New Order?
We saw it over at the Block in Orange.
Okay.
The AMC Theater there.
For those of you in Southern California.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's playing at AMC Theater.
It's playing at least at the AMC Theater.
Okay. And let's see here, Lindsey, where can we see A Quiet Place? That opened last Friday?
It opened last Friday. And for those of you who were on the ball and maybe listened to the show last week, you got to see the John Krasinski Q&A on Thursday, which is pretty neat. But yeah, it's at all theaters right now. So we've got Cinemark, Regal, AMC. It's pretty much everywhere because this is really one of the first, I think, really big moneymaker movies that people have been really waiting for. So it's at literally every single movie theater.
Right. And A Quiet Place 2, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, comes out this Friday. And so we are getting back into movie theaters, the summer season, the summer blockbuster season, and it's kind of exciting. Now, we did have a little bit more planned for tonight's show, but we're running like kind of late here. Eric, Amantha, we talked about having a Lynch debate, a Lynch off. And, you know, I mean, are you guys interested in talking about that still? Oh, Jesus. Yes. Okay, kids.
She's
we are
ready.
Doing it. Everybody, let's talk about David Lynch. Now, let's try to keep it trimmed, but she has her log. Oh my God. Okay, so.
And my log has something to tell you.
Okay, what is it?
Well, my log has just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to discuss Lynch, being that this is what I'm obsessed with in my life. So, Eric, let's start.
That's her Twin Peaks shrine.
It is. It's my Twin Peaks shrine. However, we were going to discuss our favorite David Lynch film. Even though Twin Peaks is a big part of my life, and that can be a totally different show. I'll start. Wild at Heart is my favorite David Lynch film. I enjoy that film very much. I absolutely love Nicolas Cage in that film. I absolutely love every single supporting character in that film. I absolutely love lines in that film that I try to use in my daily life, as often as possible. It was really the first, outside of watching Twin Peaks, it was really the first David Lynch film I saw in a theater. And I don't want to say blew me away, but I mean, like, it just was at a certain time period in my life as a teenager, and I felt very adult and pretentious, anything that goes along with it, that I was now becoming this fan of this director, right? If that makes sense.
That's super cool, yeah.
Yeah. Other things with that film is just the fact that I read the book as well, as you can see behind me. And I will say that if you haven't,
No, I'm just chuckling. It's just adorable.
Yeah. So I read the book after I found the book and read it after I had seen the film. And I would say that both of them are good in their own respects, and they're good together. So I wouldn't, since I watched the film first and then read the book after, that would probably be my preference of using these two medias together. But I don't know if it makes a difference if you do it one way or the other.
Okay. So
yes.
So that's your favorite Lynch film.
That's my favorite Lynch film.
Okay. Well, my favorite Lynch film is Mulholland Drive. This film was, well, I guess I should show me now. This film was, oh God, where am I? Yeah, Mulholland Drive was a pretty remarkable piece of work because it actually started off as a pilot on ABC, and when because it was his follow-up to Twin Peaks, and when that got rejected, it sat on a shelf for a long time, and nobody knew if they were ever going to see it. And then, of course, they did. He took the first act, which was the pilot, and he turned it into. He built a second half to it, and that completely flipped everything he had done on its head and made it this masterpiece of artistic achievement. And it was simply brilliant. It was scary. It's funny. It's sad. It's romantic. It jumps all around as far as tone goes, but still it has the same through line. It's a nasty commentary on Hollywood and how it chews people up and spits them out. And I simply loved how dreamlike and nightmarish it was. And that's my favorite Lynch film. Everything he does is amazing. I would even say that Dune has some lovely bits to it, but Mulholland Drive, come on now. Come on.
I agree too. But here's the thing: is that you can't really pinpoint a favorite David Lynch film.
Even though say your favorite, but you can't say the best.
But yeah, I mean, you can say a favorite. However,
but see, that's I was gonna say that's the problem that I have in picking a favorite.
Well, what is your current favorite, Eric?
I did go ahead and go with Blue Velvet.
Okay.
But I would still say that's just barely. I love everything about Blue Velvet, as I know you do too. As much as you love Wild at Heart, Blue Velvet is certainly up there for you. As well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dennis Hopper is just incredible in that movie. It's a good. It's a good introduction for Kyle MacLachlan. It's just I just love the contrast of the seedy underside to this bright, clean suburban setting, and the crossover that happens between these two worlds. In it. So I would probably say that one might be just above everything else for me as a favorite, but I there's so much I like about the other movies too.
Agreed.
Again, even Dune.
Agreed. David Lynch is just an artist through and through, and that's really what it all comes down to. No matter what it is he does, it's all about art. And yeah, it's not necessarily a debate. It's just talking about what our favorite is at this point.
Well,
but it can change.
And I was going to say, speaking of being an artist, his movies tend to be a lot like paintings. When you're looking at a painting, you don't necessarily have you look at it and you bring a lot to it yourself, and figuring out what you're seeing, interpreting what you're seeing, interpreting what's there without everything being laid out extremely clear for you. And I think his movies are kind of the same thing. They're very similar to that sort of experience.
Okay.
And that multiple people can watch the same movie and come away with very different feelings about it, or very different ideas of what happened. And some movies are loved and hated by
many.
Yeah, well, I think of years ago when Siskel and Ebert were reviewing the movies, and I think it was Blue Velvet that Siskel absolutely loved and Ebert hated, and then I think might have been Wild at Heart, that they had the complete opposite reactions to them. And even people who are fans of the stuff. It took a long time before we finally got around to seeing Inland Empire, which was the last film that he made.
Right, which happened to be 9 years ago today. Showed up in my Facebook memory.
Yeah. But we went into it with somewhat low expectations.
Not a fan of that one. Not a fan.
From people, and we really liked it.
We really liked it, and it's a good horror film.
Well, all of his movies in some way are a great horror film, and this is why we're talking about him, because he can tap into so many things, based on the human experience, be it great or awful. Or Lindsay, do you happen to have a favorite Lynch film? Oh no, what is it?
I do, and it's different than all three of yous.
Oh no.
I know. I love Lost Highway. So I love film noir, and it has it's a modern noir vibe. And I'm also a sucker for Bill Pullman, literally anything he's in. I think this was one of the first films I actually saw. This and Casper, I think, were the two films I saw him in first. And what I love about that movie is it's kind of one of those, and I know I said that you have to have a closed ending with A Quiet Place, and this is not necessarily the same way, but with Fred and Renee so if you guys aren't familiar, it follows a couple. I know you guys are familiar, I'm talking about everybody else, but halfway through the film, they switch out completely different characters, but they're like the same character. They're like the same people, but they're not the same people. They just like have these shared memories. It's a trip. It's very wild. It's all over the place, and you just kind of have to let it be. But where I think the film really shines is in the emotional intensity. So, like, for example, between Fred and Renee, there's, their marriage is kind of on the rocks, and they find out they're being filmed, and it kind of creates a lot of extra tension. But there's so much emotion there that's like, there's love, there's hate, there's, disdain, there's intensity. And Bill Pullman and, gosh, oh my God. Who's the woman? I'm blanks.
Patricia Arquette.
Yes, Patricia Arquette. Thank you. They bring those emotions to life. To me, it's like, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Marriage Story, but kind of the same. There's a lot of complex emotions in that film. In Lost Highway, it's like captivating to see these two emote so well, in my opinion. And so it kind of hits a lot of my little guilty pleasures in the film world. So that one's my favorite.
I think go ahead, please.
Real quick, regarding Lost Highway.
Eric wants to tell this story.
I just love this story. So Amantha, big David Lynch fan that she is, she, what was it? You wrote a letter to him once saying that you would...
Oh, yeah. Well, again, it's a whole different show we have to have just about the genius of Lynch. No, when I was 16,
it's entirely. That's why I was like, I didn't even know if I wanted to go down this road because we could spend like 2 hours on this. But
right, no, I wrote a letter to him when I was 16 saying I would do anything like scrape the gum off his shoes if I could get a job. But the Lost Highway story is this, real quick. So I went to go see it at the theater. I was like one of the 1 or 2 people in the theater when it came out. I got a page. Because I had a pager at the time. I got a page right at the pivotal moment when things...
Well, yes, just before
things change. And I walked out, made my call, walked back in, and then I'm like, why is Balthazar Getty in this film? I missed a very important part of that film that Eric will not...
No. Not unimportant part of the film.
Not let me live it down ever. So from that point forward, I've never answered a page again.
Good. And you know what? You shouldn't.
So don't page her. She
Do
won't
not
answer.
page me. I will not answer it.
Unless do you still have your Motorola? Well, throw it away. So yeah, the point is, turn the damn phone off. But if you're dealing with an emergency, put it on silent for Christ's sake. And if you really think you're going to get something that is so important that you have to ignore something that somebody worked for 3 years on to bring to you for an hour and a half of enjoyment, why don't you sit in the back row? How about that? Sit in the back row and just now I'm ranting. So just be cool, okay?
And I don't even have any way to defend myself. I shouldn't have answered it.
No. I'm not coming for you right now. What I'm saying is that was a completely different time. I'm saying right now, I'm calling out the lady that I caught recently in a movie theater FaceTiming with her daughter during a movie and showing her the screen and talking to her. That's what I've seen. So, yes. So, guys, let's remember theater etiquette. And with that, oh my God, somebody lit Norm up. Okay, and with that, let's call out. Speaking of calling out, let's say hi to Brandy and Brian. Brian, my old high school buddy, and he is reciting the lyrics to "Log," the Ren and Stimpy song.
Yes.
And Brandy agrees with you, Lindsay, that closure is good. But sometimes
it's not. But in the case of Quiet Place 2, it would have been nice.
Hey, Brandy, we love you. Also, I've shown everybody the lunch pail you got me, and they're all jealous, and I'm going to be using it. So it can't be resold. It is mine. They got me the coolest present. So, okay. You guys, this was actually an amazing show. and I loved the discussion. But it's clear that we need to talk more Lynch. Okay, so capping things off, we have A Quiet Place 2 already out. We have The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It coming out this Friday. And we have New Order, which is something that Eric and Amantha demand you see. So with that, we wish you all the very best. Please stay safe. We could possibly, I'm betting we're going to have Halloween this year. Just keep getting vaccinated and keep being safe. And, oh man, I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing. So any last words from everyone?
Very good. Rewind was the only thing I can think of.
Excellent.
Wait, I will leave you with one of my favorite quotes. And
Okay.
I'm too old to remember things with my own brain. So I just want to say, uh-oh, baby, you got me back to the hotel. You better get me back to that hotel. You got me hotter than Georgia asphalt.
Oh my. Okay. Bye everyone. See you in the fog.
Bye, everyone.